You've probably put one of these 9 snacks in your trolley this week, thinking you were doing the healthy thing. I did too, until I actually read the ingredients panel instead of the front of the packet. If you think phrases like baked not fried, protein packed, or no added sugar automatically guarantee a healthy food, you might find yourself questioning a few of your go-to supermarket staples by the end of this. But we aren't just going to break down what to avoid. I am also going to show you the 2 genuine exceptions that actually deserve the hype. Think about the last time you walked down the snack aisle at Coles or Woolworths. You're likely tired after a long day trying to make decent choices, and your eyes scan the shelves. You see words like whole food, source of fiber, or no nasties stamped across the cardboard. It feels like a shortcut to a healthy choice, so you grab it. The problem is that front-of-pack marketing in Australia operates in a completely different regulatory universe than the nutrition information panel on the back. While the back panel is strictly bound by consumer law to reflect exact chemical realities, the front cover is designed by psychologists and marketers to trigger a feeling of health. It is entirely legal to plaster a product with wholesome imagery and select buzzwords, even if the primary ingredients are highly refined. This isn't about being a strict, clean-eating purist who never enjoys a treat. It's about the frustration of being quietly misled by massive companies profiting off our desire to eat well. To sort the reality from the spin, we are counting down 9 specific snack categories commonly found on Australian shelves, moving from the mildly disappointing to the genuinely shocking. Number 9. The baked, not fried chip that still ultra-processed walk down the savoury snack aisle and you are bombarded by a wall of bright bags proudly claiming to be baked, not fried. The immediate subconscious reaction we have to that phrase is relief. It feels like a free pass. We assume that because a chip avoided the deep fryer, it somehow bypassed the pitfalls of modern industrial food manufacturing. It sounds lighter, cleaner, and inherently better for your body. But if you flip that bag over and look at the actual text printed on the back, a very different story begins to emerge. The phrase baked not fried is a masterclass in front label misdirection. It focuses your attention entirely on a single step of the cooking process while completely distracting you from what the food is actually made of. When independent researchers look at these snacks using the Norva Food Classification System, a widely accepted scientific framework that categorizes food by the extent and purpose of its industrial processing, these chips don't land in a healthy category. They are firmly classified as ultra-processed foods. The manufacturing process for a mass-produced baked chip isn't just a matter of taking sliced potatoes and popping them in a domestic oven. To get a baked starch to mimic the satisfying, shattering crunch of a traditional fried chip, manufacturers have to rely heavily on industrial engineering. They use reconstituted potato flakes, cornstarches, and chemically modified food starches to build a structural matrix that can hold its shape during high-heat baking. Then comes the fat. While they might not be submerged in a vat of boiling oil, these chips are still typically sprayed or mixed with refined seed oils like canola, corn, or sunflower oil to ensure they don't taste like cardboard. Furthermore, to make up for the flavor loss that naturally happens when you reduce the fat content, the ingredient list often balloons with flavor enhancers, maltodextrin, artificial colorings, and yeast extracts. When you compare the ingredient lists side by side, a traditional fried chip might just have 3 ingredients: potatoes, oil, and salt. The healthier baked alternative can easily have 15 or 20. A good rule of thumb to keep in mind for the rest of your grocery trips is simple. The front of the packaging is where the marketing lives, but the back is where the truth is told. That one's annoying, but harmless enough. Number 8 is where it starts getting sneakier. Number 8. The popcorn marketed as air-popped health food. Popcorn occupies a legendary status in the health community. In its pure form, it genuinely deserves that reputation. It is a 100% whole grain, packed with incredibly cellular fiber, incredibly low in calorie density, and highly satisfying to chew on. Because we know this, our brains light up with a sense of safety when we see pre-packaged popcorn brands crowding the supermarket shelves, especially those explicitly labeled as air-popped. The term air-popped tricks us into picturing a simple hot air machine forcing kernels to bloom, clean and untouched by industrial fats. But while the physical popping process might happen via hot air, what happens immediately afterward completely changes the game. Once the corn is popped, it becomes a dry, structural sponge. To get seasonings like sea salt, sweet chili, or vinegar to stick to a dry piece of popcorn without it all falling to the bottom of the bag, manufacturers have to apply a binding agent. That binding agent is almost always oil. If you read the nutrition information panel on these bags, you will frequently find that refined vegetable oils make up a massive percentage of the final weight. Furthermore, because commercial snack food is designed to hit what food scientists call the bliss point, the perfect chemical intersection of fat, salt, and sugar that overrides our natural satiety signals, these packaged options are heavily loaded with sodium. The National Heart Foundation of Australia recommends keeping sodium levels below 400 milligrams per 100 grams for a food to be considered acceptable for heart health. Yet, many of these light supermarket popcorn lines skyrocket past that threshold, sometimes containing as much sodium and saturated fat per serving as a standard bag of potato chips. You think you are eating light, airy volume food, but metabolic reality shows you are consuming an oil-dusted salt bomb. If that one stung, wait until you see what's happening in the protein snack aisle. Number 7. The protein snack that's mostly filler protein is the darling of modern nutritional marketing. Everyone wants more of it. We associate it with muscle retention, stable blood sugar, and sustained fullness. Food brands have fully capitalized on this cultural fixation by transforming standard snack lanes into high-tech protein zones, complete with bold block lettering, fitness-focused imagery, and prominent declarations of 20 protein stamped across the center of the wrapper. In Australia, Food Standards Australia-New Zealand, or FSANZ, regulates nutrient content claims quite strictly based on specific thresholds. To say a product is a source or good source of protein, it must contain a verified amount per serving. But what these regulations do not control is what accompanies that protein inside the bar or ball. To hit those high protein targets cheaply, manufacturers rarely use whole food sources like nuts or seeds as the primary driver. Instead, they rely heavily on highly isolated, industrially processed protein powders, most commonly soy protein isolate or cheap whey protein concentrate. These isolates are incredibly dry and chalky by nature. They taste terrible on their own. To make these dry protein blends palatable and shelf-stable, food engineers have to perform a delicate balancing act. They fill the remaining structural volume of the bar with industrial binders and texturizers, like polydextrose, glycerol, and emulsifiers. More importantly, they have to mask the bitter taste of the protein isolate. They do this either by loading the product with high amounts of hidden sugars or by flooding it with sugar alcohols like maltitol and erythritol alongside artificial sweeteners. If you audit these popular ranges on a per 100 gram basis, you will often find that the sugar and processed carbohydrate content matches or exceeds the protein content. You aren't buying a clean fitness supplement. You are buying a heavily processed candy bar wrapped in a gym towel. Protein bars are one thing, but what they're doing to kids' lunchbox snacks is worse. Number 6, the kids snack with a health halo and sky-high sugar. This is where the marketing shifts from slightly deceptive to emotionally manipulative. Walk into the school lunchbox section and the visual landscape changes dramatically. The shelves are flooded with friendly cartoon characters, bright primary colors, and comforting maternal slogans like "made with real fruit," "no artificial colors," and "perfect for school lunchboxes." As parents or caregivers, your guard is down because you want to trust that products designed for young children are safe. When a box loudly proclaims it is made with 99% real fruit, it feels like a massive win. You naturally equate that claim with the health benefits of an apple or a banana. However, looking at the molecular reality of how these snacks are made reveals a deeply concerning process. To make these gummy shapes, fruit strips or fruit straps stable and highly sweet, manufacturers take real fruit and subject it to intense industrial concentration. They boil it down into a highly refined puree, stripping away the cellular structure and the vital dietary fiber that naturally regulates how the human body processes fructose. What you are left with is essentially concentrated fruit juice sugar. The World Health Organization and our own National Health and Medical Research Council recommend strictly limiting free sugars for children to prevent metabolic stress and dental decay. Yet a single small pouch of these real fruit snacks can contain up to 4 or 5 teaspoons of free sugar. Because the fiber is completely gone, this sugar hits a child's bloodstream almost instantly, causing a rapid glycemic spike followed by an inevitable behavioral crash. it has the exact same metabolic impact on a child's body as a handful of jelly babies. But it gets a free pass into the school routine because it wears a clever fruit disguise. And it's not even the worst kid's snack on this list. Right when this list is starting to feel heavy, let's take a quick pause. If you've already spotted one of your own pantry staples on this list, drop the number in the comments below. I read every single one. And if this kind of transparency is useful to you, hit that subscribe button right now because number 1 on this list is going to completely surprise you. Number 5, the muesli granola marketed as clean, but loaded with added sugar. Let's step back out into the main aisles and head over to the breakfast and wellness section. Here, you will find rows of premium muesli and granola blends. The packaging here is beautiful earthy brown cardboard, clean minimalist fonts, and terms like artisanal, raw, and clean eating. It feels incredibly high-end, and the price tag usually reflects that. The psychological trap here is our collective cultural belief that oats, nuts, and seeds are inherently wholesome. Marketers know this, so they take those basic ingredients and bind them into highly appetizing, crunchy clusters. The secret to making those perfect, crunchy clusters is sugar. To keep the front cover looking pristine, mainstream manufacturers rarely use standard white table sugar. Instead, they opt for what dietitians call stealth sugars. They use honey, rice malt syrup, organic coconut sugar, or agave nectar. The front of the bag proudly shouts, "No refined sugar." Biochemically, your liver does not care if a sugar molecule came from a premium organic coconut or a standard sugarcane plant. Data from Dietitians Australia consistently highlights that these alternative syrups possess a nearly identical glycemic impact and caloric load to standard table sugar. Rice malt syrup, for instance, is almost pure maltose and hits your bloodstream incredibly fast. When you look at the serving size on the back of these clean granolas, a standard portion is often listed as a tiny 45 grams, barely a handful. If you pour a realistic human-sized bowl, you can easily consume up to 30 grams of sugar before your workday even begins. The wellness branding creates a psychological permission structure to overeat something that is fundamentally a dessert. Granola swapping one sugar for another is sneaky. Number 4, swap something else entirely. Number 4, the vegan or plant-based snack that's still ultra-processed. The meteoric rise of the plant-based movement over the last few years has completely rewritten supermarket layout strategies. What used to be a niche shelf is now a multi-million-dollar category spanning the entire store. Products are heavily branded with green leaves, clean white packaging, and prominent vegan-friendly or plant-based stamps. The structural flaw in our thinking here is an incorrect logical equation. We unconsciously decide that if a food is vegan, it must be a vegetable, and if it is a vegetable, it must be healthy. Ethical choices aside, vegan is a statement about what is not in the food, not a statement about the quality of what is inside. To create savory plant-based jerkies, vegan cheese crackers, or dairy-free snack bars that mimic the exact texture, mouthfeel, and melting points of animal products, industrial food processors have to use intense chemical manipulation. If you read the back of these modern plant-based snack lines, you will frequently see an incredibly long, complex list of ingredients. You will see isolated pea proteins, potato starches, refined coconut fats, thickeners like xanthan gum or carrageenan, and heavy doses of industrial flavorings and sodium. These products are textbook examples of ultra-processed foods. A recent wave of nutritional studies has shown that diets heavy in ultra-processed foods lead to identical overconsumption and metabolic markers, regardless of whether those foods are derived from plants or animals. The ethical label is being actively used as a health shield to sell highly engineered, low-nutrient convenience foods at a premium price. That one surprises a lot of people. Number 3 is the brand almost everyone has in their cupboard right now. Number 3, the everyday pantry staple, with a deceptive serving size. This brings us to a psychological trick that is hidden in plain sight across almost every household pantry in Australia. Think about those multi-pack savory crackers, sweet biscuits, or snack mixes that you grab without a second thought during your weekly shop. They feel safe because they are familiar, everyday items we grew up with. The deception here doesn't lie in hidden exotic chemicals. It lies in the mathematics of the nutrition label itself. Under the FSANZ labeling guidelines, manufacturers have the freedom to define what constitutes a single serving size for their product. Because they know modern consumers glance at the calorie, fat and sugar columns on the back panel, they intentionally shrink the official serving size down to an absurdly small amount to make the numbers look acceptable. For example, you might grab a packet of savory biscuits where the front says only 90 calories per serve. That sounds fantastic for an afternoon snack. But when you flip to the back panel and check the fine print, you discover that a single serving is listed as exactly 2.5 biscuits. No human being in the history of snack consumption has ever eaten 2.5 crackers and put the packet away. When you recalculate those numbers based on what an actual person consumes, say, half a packet or a full sleeve, the sodium, saturated fat, and refined carbohydrates triple or quadruple instantly. This specific math trick alone will permanently change how you read every label after this video. You have to stop looking at the per serving column and start looking exclusively at the per 100 grams column to see the true concentration of what you're putting into your body. Now we're getting into the two that genuinely shocked me when I dug into them. Number 2, the premium artisan snack with the worst value for nutrition ratio. As consumer awareness around health has grown, standard corporate packaging has evolved to combat our skepticism. Entered the premium artisan snack line. These are the items placed deliberately at eye level or featured on special end-of-aisle displays. The boxes use textured matte cardboard instead of glossy plastic. The fonts look hand-drawn. The descriptions read like a fine dining menu. Slow-roasted Australian almonds dusted with hand-harvested pink lake salt and organic rosemary extract. This aesthetic design triggers a powerful cognitive shortcut known as the premium heuristic. We naturally assume that a product that costs 3 times as much and looks like it came from a local boutique market must possess superior nutritional integrity. But if we'll perform a clinical order of the ingredients panel on an $8 box of artisan crackers alongside a $2 generic supermarket house brand, a frustrating reality appears. The core ingredients are often identical: standard refined white wheat flour, cheap palm or canola oil, and basic iodized salt. The exotic high-value ingredients, shouted on the front like the truffle oil or the organic herbs, are almost always listed at the very end of the ingredient list on the back. In Australia, ingredients must be listed in descending order by weight. When an ingredient is listed last, it means it represents a tiny fraction of a percent of the total product. You aren't paying for superior nutrition, cleaner sourcing, or better metabolic health. You are paying a massive financial premium purely for graphic design, clever copy editing, and an elevated sense of self-worth at the checkout counter. Everything you just seen, all of it comes together in our number 1 entry. Number 1, the beloved national brand. Everyone assumes it's safe. We have reached the climax of our list, and this is the one that hurts the most. It is a legacy household name brand. It is a product that has been embedded in Australian sporting culture, school lunchboxes, and family pantries for generations. It is a brand that has spent decades cultivating a public image of wholesome, rugged, healthy Australian vitality. Because of this long-standing cultural trust, we don't look at it critically. We buy it on absolute autopilot. But when you strip away the nostalgia and look at the actual physical product inside the box, this beloved national staple combines almost every single red flag we have discussed today into a single item. It heavily utilizes health halo language on the front cover, highlighting specific vitamin additions or mineral content while completely obscuring the structural reality of the product. It relies on the deceptive serving size trick, presenting nutritional figures based on tiny, unrealistic amounts that bear no resemblance to how actual Australians consume it. Most importantly, the primary driver of its flavor profile is hidden sugar and highly processed refined carbohydrates. The reason this entry sits at number 1 isn't because its ingredients are uniquely toxic compared to everything else on the shelves. It is because the gap between its public reputation and its biological reality is the widest. It has successfully weaponized institutional trust and national identity to bypass our critical thinking defenses. It proves just how incredibly effective modern food marketing is. It shows that the more we trust a brand historically, the less likely we are to protect our health by verifying what is actually inside it. Okay, that's the bad news out of the way. Now let's fix your shopping list for good. The 2 healthy options are actually worth it. After looking at 9 categories designed to mislead you, it can feel like the entire supermarket is a minefield where nothing is safe to buy. But that isn't true. There are genuine exceptions on Australian shelves, brands and product lines that do not play these marketing games. These options are transparent, metabolically supportive, and fully live up to the promises made on their packaging. The first genuine option worth your money is plain, dry roasted premium nuts and seeds that contain absolutely no added oils or synthetic flavorings. When you look at the back of these packets, the ingredient list contains exactly one or two items. For example, almonds, cashews. What makes this choice different is structural honesty. The fat inside this snack isn't a refined seed oil sprayed on top in an industrial facility. It is the natural, intrinsic, healthy monosaturated fat locked inside the cellular wall of the nut itself. This natural structure means your body has to work hard to digest it, providing a slow, sustained release of energy alongside intact dietary fiber and plant proteins. A great buying tip here is to completely avoid the snack aisle for this purchase. Walk over to the home baking section or the bulk food bins instead. The exact same almonds or walnuts are often priced significantly lower per kilo simply because they aren't packaged in a flashy snack pouch designed to sit at eye level in the chip aisle. The second stellar option is 100% whole grain brown rice cakes or whole grain crisp breads, specifically those that use minimal ingredients like whole grain rye, salt, and nothing else. Brands like Ryvita or pure whole grain rice cakes pass every single test we have set today. They don't use reconstituted flakes or chemical starches to create a fake crunch. They rely on the natural puffing or baking of the intact grain itself. Because the ingredient list is incredibly short, often just 2 or 3 items, there is absolutely nowhere for stealth sugars, industrial emulsifiers, or heavy seed oils to hide. They provide a genuinely low-calorie, high-fiber structural base that you can pair with real whole food toppings like avocado, tinned sardines, or natural peanut butter. When you buy these, you are paying for actual sustenance, not industrial food engineering wrapped in clever marketing spin. Now that you know what good looks like, here's how to spot it yourself in 10 seconds flat without needing this video next time. The 10-second framework. How to spot a fake healthy snack yourself. You do not need to memorize every single brand name or item on this list to protect yourself the next time you walk into a supermarket. Instead, you just need a repeatable, systematic framework that you can apply to any product on Earth in less than 10 seconds. Next time you pick up a new snack that looks healthy, run it through this quick 4-step mental checklist before it goes into your trolley. First, look immediately at the length of the ingredient list on the back. A human-friendly, minimally processed snack should ideally have fewer than 5 or 6 ingredients. If the list looks like a university chemistry textbook full of numbers, gums, isolates, and compounds you wouldn't keep in a home pantry, put it back down. Second, bypass the per serving column entirely and look straight at the per 100 grade column for sugar. A safe, repeatable baseline for a healthy everyday snack is to look for products that contain less than 10 grams of sugar per 100 grams of total weight. If it exceeds that threshold, you are looking at a product where sugar is being used as a primary structural driver or flavor enhancer, regardless of whether it's called honey, syrup, or organic juice concentrate. Third, perform a quick buzzword inversion. If the front of the packaging is screaming incredibly loud about what it doesn't have, no gluten, no dairy, no refined sugar, no nasties, your skepticism should immediately go up, not down. Ask yourself, what did they have to add to this food to make it taste good once they took all those standard ingredients out? Finally, do the serving size sanity check. Look at the official serving size and ask yourself honestly if that matches what a hungry human being eats in the real world. If the numbers only look good because the serving size is restricted to a microscopic portion, you know the brand is actively trying to hide the true metabolic impact of their product. This video wasn't created to make you feel guilty about what is currently sitting in your kitchen cupboards, or to turn grocery shopping into a stressful chore. It was designed to pull back the curtain on an industry that spends millions of dollars figuring out exactly how to exploit our best intentions for corporate profit. The single biggest takeaway today is that the most powerful tool you possess for your long-term health isn't a restrictive diet trend or a premium wellness supplement. It is the simple habit of flipping the packet over. The moment you stop reading the marketing on the front and start reading the data on the back, you instantly strip these massive food corporations of their ability to trick you. You take complete control of your nutrition back into your own hands. Try using this 10-second framework on just 3 items during your very next grocery shop and see exactly what you discover hiding in plain sight. If you found this breakdown valuable, Drop a comment letting me know which brand surprised you the most, and share this with someone who is trying to make better choices at the shops. We'll be doing a deep dive into the exact same marketing traps inside the breakfast cereal aisle next week, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. See you in the next video.